Okay, here's our dividing decimals sheet. So let's go over this pretty quickly here. For dividing decimals, that's our target, or our lesson. Our two targets are I can rewrite decimal division as dividing by whole numbers. So we're going to teach you how to divide decimals by really teaching you how to divide whole numbers, dividing by whole numbers. And then I can justify reasonableness of my answer by estimating. So we're also going to estimate our answers, which is going to be a little different estimation than we've done before. Okay, so make sure you write down the title and the learning targets, and when you're done, you can go ahead and move on. If you need to pause, go ahead. Alright, here are 3 steps for dividing decimals. Step 1, you're going to rewrite the division problem as dividing by a whole number, which doesn't mean that you're going to have whole numbers for both numbers, but you're going to make sure that the second number, the number you're dividing by, is a whole number. That's how we're going to divide. The first number may or may not be a whole number. Second, we're going to divide using long division, so hopefully you remember how to do that. And then third, we're going to place the decimal point in the corresponding place, which means wherever it's located in the first number is where it is going to be located in the final answer, if there is one. And I'll show you how to do that in our examples. If you need to pause to write that down, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I will be moving on. Okay, estimating dividing decimals. To estimate dividing decimals, we really have 2 steps here. We're going to estimate using compatible numbers. This is not rounding, this is compatible numbers. Compatible numbers are close to the original, but divide with no remainder. So we want to use numbers that when we divide, we don't have to worry about a remainder. So this may or may not be rounding the number. We just have to find numbers that are close, but that they go into each other. Alright, and then second, we divide them to find our answer. Okay, again, like multiplying and dividing, your answers might be a little bit more apart because of that, the fact of it, you're repeating that same number over and over again. Okay, if you need to pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll be moving on to the examples. In example 1, we're estimating the quotient, or finding the quotient and going to estimate. So we're going to have 2 answers for these. And in these, I have the second number already as a whole number, so we don't have to worry about step 1. So step 1 is make sure that we are dividing by a whole number. We are. So step 2 then is divide using long division. Remember to long divide. That the first number goes on the inside. Some people call it the little house or whatever. Okay, but first number goes on the inside. Second number goes on the outside. Okay. There's my decimal point. It's still there, but I'm kind of ignoring it until that last step. So here's what I do. First I divide. How many times does 36 go into 43? 1. So I put the 1 above the 3 because it's 43. And then I put 36 underneath. And I subtract those. And when I subtract those, I get 7. 43 minus 36 is 7. Next, I bring down the 2. I'm ignoring the decimal point. I bring down the 2. And how many times does 36 go into 72? Twice. 2 times 36 is 72, and I subtract those, I get 0. Now I'm going to account for the decimal point by placing the corresponding spot. It is here, so all I do is move it straight up and put it right above. So my final answer is 1 2/10. Okay. Now to estimate these, we're going to use compatible numbers. Here's how you do this. You take the second number and you round that one. So 36 is going to stay at 36. And then the first number, I'm going to choose a number that's close to the original. But 36 goes into. Well, that doesn't leave a lot of option. That leaves 36. 36 divided by 36 is 1. So my estimated answer is 1. Oh, look. Yeah, that makes my real answer seem accurate. Okay? Okay. Oops. Sorry about that. Next example, B, 68.2 divided by 11. So again, I'm going to divide them. It's already a whole number, so I don't have to worry about that. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go. 11 goes into 68 6 times. So that's going to be 66, and I subtract that. I get 2, and I bring down the 2, ignoring the decimal point. 11 goes into 22 twice, so I get that, and that is 0. Now I place the decimal point that moves straight up so that my final answer is 6 2/10. Now I'm going to estimate them, so the 11 is going to stay 11, and then the 68.2, that's about 66, and I know 11 goes into that without a remainder, so I get 66 divided by 11 is 6, and that's how you do that answer. Okay, if you need to pause or rewind, go ahead, otherwise I'm moving on to my next set of examples. In my next set of examples, I have decimals. So now my first step is to divide by whole numbers. Here's how you divide by whole numbers. Okay, I want to make the second number, I want to make that a whole number here. Okay, I want to make that the whole number. So 44.5 I'm going to make as 45, which means I moved my decimal point over one spot to the right. Okay, whatever I did over there, I must do the same thing to my other side to keep my problem equal. So I'm going to move that one to the right. So I'm really going to be dividing 828 divided by 45. And when I do 828 divided by 45, it's a little bit easier to do now. Okay, and I actually end up with no decimal point here, although I will have one in my answer. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is divide these. Okay, 45 goes into 820. Goes into 82. That goes in one time. And that is 45. And then you subtract that, you get 12. You got to borrow, so that becomes 12. So that's 7, and then that becomes 3. Bring down the 8. 45 goes into 378. Goes in 8 times, guys, which is 360. Subtract that, and I get 18. Now I'm out of numbers. Oh, so I have to mark my decimal point, and then put a 0, and I can bring that 0 down. Now 45 goes into 180. That goes in 4 times. Okay, which is 180. Subtract, and I get 0. And I move my decimal point up, so I get 18.4 is my answer. Okay, I always like to rewrite the answer, guys, and not leave it in there so you can easily see it. Now I'm going to estimate my answers. So when I estimate these, I'm going to round them in to find something that is close that 45 goes into. So that's going to be 45. Now if I think of my multiples of 45, guys, it's going to be like 45, 90, and they're going to go in, then 135, and then 180. So I'm kind of looking in those multiples of 90 could kind of help me find my answer that I am looking for. But when I do this, guys, my estimate's going to come to 810 is what it goes into. So again, thinking of your 90s, okay, and then if that wasn't close, you could go to the 45, but 90, like 9, goes into 81, so 810, and when I divide those, I'm going to get 18. And that's going to be my estimate. So sometimes you got to think outside the box when you're trying to find these numbers. Okay, and for example B, when I divide these, I'm going to have 77.52 divided by 3.4. So again, I want to make that second one the whole number. So that's going to be 34, which this one means I went over 1. I'm going to go over 1 here. I don't just get rid of them on the first one. I go over the same. Oops. And let me rewrite this correctly. You can get 775.2. So I went over one spot there. Now I can divide these. Alright, 34 goes into 77 twice. That is 68. You're going to subtract those and you get 9. Bring down the 5. 34 actually goes in there just twice. Okay, third time would be a little bit over 100. So that's still going to be 68. And you're going to subtract those, you get 27. Bring down the 2. And 34 goes into 272 8 times. That is 272. And subtract those, you get 0. Now move your decimal point up. So my final answer is 22.8. Now I'm going to round these. So I'm going to round the first number to 3. And then 78 is what it goes into. So 78 divided by 3 is 26. And that is my final answer. If you need to rewind or go back to do anything, make sure you do that. Otherwise, have a great night.